Good morning. Hi, I'm Pam Fox. Thank you for watching my channel. Today is August 1st, 2017, and that means we have wrapped up our July challenge, our 30-day Crush Your Fitness Goals challenge. So for those of you that crushed your fitness goals, congratulations. Awesome job. And for those of you that maybe, not so much, or maybe you didn't even participate in the challenge, I just want to remind you some of the things I've been talking about already this month, that it's okay to fail. That's life. We fail. It happens. And it's so important. And I'm speaking from experience. It's so important to accept that fact that in this life we will fail. We will suffer. We will have trials. We will have pains. And if we can train ourselves how to find the goodness, the lessons, the gifts in those trials and those pains and those sufferings, in those failures, that's when we're going to grow. That's when we're going to grow. I think we basically have three choices when it comes to, these challenges or self-development in our own personal life. We can, we can try and fail. We can keep trying and eventually hit the goal and reach success. So that's option one. Just keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. You will get there. You will get there. You will reach your goal if you keep trying. That's option one. Or you will die trying. You will not reach your goal and you will die trying. Option three is to give up. Option three is to give up and to not even try. And then you will definitely never reach your goal if you give up. So you can keep trying and hit success eventually, or you can die trying, or you can just give up. You can just give up. And I have definitely been there where I've just kind of given up and just decided, this is as good as it gets, especially, with my health. But then I decided not to give up and try something new once again. And for me, going on a plant-based diet was what was the answer for, getting my health back, into a good place so that I could start, exercising. I couldn't do the exercise when I was in poor health. I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the energy. So don't give up. That's my message. Don't give up. Remember that when it comes to failure, you look for the gifts, you look for the lessons. You have to retrain yourself to really when you're in that moment of failure, it's almost like, okay, goody. Okay, there's lessons here. Let's look for the lessons. And don't just think, okay, what's the lesson? Honestly, guys, sit down and write out the question. Here is the cruddy thing that happened. What is the gift in this failure? What is it? And then think about it and write down those lessons that you learned. By doing this, you're really starting to retrain yourself to stop and look for the lessons, look for the gain in that failure every time you fail. And then you regroup, you reorganize, you recommit, and you try again. And that's life. So, if you didn't participate in this last month's fitness challenge, or maybe you got really inspired and then you just did it one day and you fell off the wagon, accept that that's okay. That's life. You failed and that's life. It's all right. And then look for the lesson in that. And then look why you failed. Maybe you weren't organized enough. Maybe you had unrealistic expectations. Create a new plan. Create a new plan that's more realistic, that fits better into your time, into your schedule. Replan, recommit, and try again. You can do it. Okay, so July is over, and so we're here in August. I'm a little chilly this morning, even though we have a heat wave coming this week. It's really cold in here this morning, but so August. This month's challenge is being taken from the category of spirituality. And gosh, guys, this whole year I've been trying to plan out these challenges and thinking, what am I going to do this month? What am I going to do that month? And for the category of spirituality, I have so many ideas. So I had to pick one for the 30-day challenge. And I ended up picking, I'll tell you in just a moment. I noticed again, I'm a student at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I noticed on our Facebook group, I've seen the comment come across at least a half a dozen times, people asking the question, how do I start a spiritual practice? And I can totally relate to that because I grew up in the church. So that shouldn't be a question on my mind. I grew up going to church every single Sunday. But when I got out on my own, I got, when I moved out of my home and went to college, I totally walked away from the church. I didn't want to really have anything to do with church. I didn't want to have anything to do with religion. Honestly, I didn't want anything to do with God. I totally walked away from it. And I didn't have a spiritual practice, and I didn't want a spiritual practice. And it wasn't until I got married and had my son that my husband started encouraging, us, he thought we should take our family to church on Sundays. And I had a really bad attitude about that. I didn't want to go to church on Sundays. I didn't want to go to church, period. I really enjoyed kind of the system that we had, which was on Sundays, we just wore our pajamas all day. Usually my husband watched sports and I did my thing, and it was just very relaxing. And I really loved, I loved our schedule. Now he wanted to get up early and put on nice clothes and go to church. And I didn't want to do it, but I reluctantly went. I had a really bad attitude about it and I didn't enjoy it. But then my husband died. He was in an accident and he died. And I did not handle that well at all. I was young. We had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and my family was my whole life. It was my whole life. And now he was gone. And I was young. I was 27. He was 29 when it happened. And I wanted to die. I really wanted to die. And, the only thing that kept me from killing myself was the fact that I had these 2 kids and I couldn't do that to them. They'd already lost their father. So really they kept me going. And that first year, I just really, really struggled. And that was my rock bottom. Losing him was definitely my rock bottom. I was a miserable mess. And I started taking my kids to church during that time. I was still a mess that whole first year though, because I didn't have a relationship with God. I was desperate for some type of relief from my pain, and I couldn't figure out how to get it. Nobody could give it to me. My loved ones, my support system was there, but they couldn't help. There was nothing anybody could do or say to make me feel better. I went to support groups. I was in like 3 different support groups, like widows support groups. I finally started seeing a therapist. She had nothing to say that could help me. Like I said, I had great friends and family around me, but I was miserable. And so I was in a real state of desperation. And I just felt like, if anybody could help me, it would be someone of a higher power, someone that's, outside of, what people can do, what I can do, what people can do, what circumstances can do or say. And so I did. I started taking my kids to church, and it didn't really help. It just, that whole first year, I was miserable. I was a mess. And I was really, that whole first year, my plan was, oh gosh, I don't even really want to share this. It's embarrassing, but I will. My plan was, in my desperation for relief from my pain, was that if I could believe, if I could muster up enough faith, if I could show God, if he's real and he loves me and I can show him, that I believe that he's real, if I can have faith, then he will help me. It's like that. What do they call it? Bartering. The whole bartering. Like I'll do this and then you'll do something for me. That's what I relied on that whole first year. I just tried to muster up faith. Like I believe. And that didn't work for me. I was still miserable that whole first year. And it was not until I really kind of had a real breaking moment, like a real, like in the pit, in the darkness, in the depths, like just ready to jump off of the highest cliff and just end my pain, moment where I said one word to God. I said one word. I said the word, whatever. I said, whatever. And I just screamed it out, and the tears were flowing, and it was late at night and there was darkness all around me. And I just said the word, whatever, over and over and over. And that was my breaking moment. And honest to goodness, guys, after that night, things just started to change for me over the course of the next few days. And that's when I got my life straight with God, because what I was essentially saying to God in those moments in that dark pit was, I can't do it. Like I can't pull myself up out of this depression. I can't pull myself out of these circumstances, of this painful circumstances. I cannot figure out a way to overcome this on my own. So whatever it takes, God, I'm going to give you the reins. That's what I was essentially saying to God. It was like, whatever, I'll do whatever. And I really started to experience what I call God's peace after that. And it was an amazing experience to feel a freedom from my pain, to feel God's peace, which was just where I could chill, which was where I could breathe, which was where I had, relief from the constant crying. I had a little bit of clarity where I felt like I knew what direction to take for the first time in that year. Like I felt like I knew what I needed to start doing, and I started doing it and it worked. So yeah, that's kind of my background, how I kind of got my life right with God. And then from that point, I kept going to church, but I was now going to church with this peace instead of going to church with this attitude. I always had this attitude, and like I would sit there in church and listen to the preacher, and I would argue with everything that he was saying in my head. I just had this attitude. I would read my Bible and I would argue with everything the Bible said in my head. And so I had this newfound peace. And so I was able to just kind of open up and receive new things and just have a peace. Not to say I didn't still have questions, not to say I didn't still have arguments. To this day, I still have questions and arguments. I really do. But I started to live my life with a peace. That's the best way I can explain it. It's really hard to explain peace other than it's just like I was just able to breathe. I was able to relax. I was able to not be so filled with this obsessive, compulsive fear and worry that had plagued me my entire life, really. Really, it had plagued me my entire life. It washed away. That's what happened to me. Everybody's story is different. That's what happened to me when I experienced God's peace, when I surrendered and experienced God's peace. So I started going on a path then. I was on, my personal walk with God, where I started to seek God, and I started to spend time with God, because that's how you have a relationship with anybody, right? You got to spend time with them. Think about, your own friends, your own family members, the people you're closest to. You have experiences with those people. You spend time with those people. You have dialogue with those people. You create memories with those people. And that's kind of hard with God because, he's not face to face. He's not here, essentially like we think, of our children or a spouse or friends or whatever. And so to develop a relationship with God, it's an interesting thing. And so I went down this path of trying to develop this relationship with God. And, it involved going to church. It involved, reading scriptures. It involved prayer. Again, that dialogue. We listen to God by reading the Bible. We talk to God through prayer. We go to church and spend time with other believers. We spend time in worship. And all of these things start to build, your faith and your personal walk with God. And, that's been my story. There's been one particular tool, though, in my experience. And guys, I know that not everybody, not everybody believes in God. And some people don't even believe that we have a soul. And I understand that. We all have our own individual beliefs. These are my beliefs. This is what has worked for me. And so that's all I share here on this channel. I share what has worked for me and what I believe strongly in. And so that's what I'm sharing. And I hope that and pray that, my experience can touch and bless someone else. That's the hope here. But one very particular tool for me in my personal walk, especially early on, well, really always, but in the beginning was music. And in that first year after I lost my husband, my sister, God bless her, hi Megan, she gave me a CD that she burned. And it had like a bunch of her favorite worship songs on there. And I didn't even listen to it at first, but it was really after I had this kind of, breaking, moment where I gave my life to God and experienced his peace, I started listening to this CD, and it had all these beautiful worship songs on them. And oh my goodness, they were just so powerful, in fact, that I would put that CD in on a daily basis and listen to it more than once. Every night when I went to bed, I would put it on and listen to it. And it was so powerfully, it was just such a powerful tool for healing in my heart. Oftentimes some of these songs, they would bring tears out, but not in a, oh, poor me, I'm so sad and miserable, I want to die way. It was like this cleansing, healing tears through this music, through these worship songs. And one song in particular is called Imagine. And it was one of those songs that was so popular. They were playing it on secular radio. They were playing it on Christian radio. And a lot of people I knew was just like, oh my gosh, if I hear that song one more time, I'm going to die. But I couldn't get enough of this song. It brought me so close to God, and it gave me so much peace over losing my husband, because it was about going to heaven basically. And it just gave me so much peace. For me, like knowing like that my husband was still alive, really gave me a lot of peace. Like, I don't know why, like just like him dying, it was so hurtful for me. Not only just him dying and not being in my life and not being in my kids' life, that was the hardest thing. Like knowing that they would grow up not knowing their father and not knowing how much he loved them. Oh my gosh, it was just like coming to grips with that was so hard. I mean, I get emotional just even thinking about it, but just like him being dead, like him not existing, like I could not come to grips with that either. And so when I started to have a belief and a faith that he wasn't dead, that was so healing to me. It brought me so much joy. It just brought me so much joy. And this song Imagine it's about going to heaven, really. And so it was so healing for me. But that music, it was so unbelievably powerful in my life. It's so surprisingly powerful. And so all of that said, getting to this month's, the August 30-day challenge is going to be a 30-day worship challenge. And the reason I chose worship, and all worship is, for those of you who don't have, maybe you don't attend church, those of us that go to church on Sunday, we tend to call the time that we sing. Like when I was growing up, we didn't call the time of singing, we didn't call it worship. But now, like a lot of churches call that period where they stand up and have a sing-along, we call that worship. So it's the music. It's the music. So a 30-day worship challenge. And stick with me here for a second. I know not everybody really likes music, which I find, I don't know. It's just not everybody's thing. I can remember being a kid and being like in an assembly at school, and we'd be singing songs like little kids, like first graders. And I can remember just like singing and smiling and being so happy. And I can remember like looking around and seeing a couple of kids that just they didn't want to sing, and they were grumpy and they weren't singing or smiling. And I can remember thinking, what's wrong with those kids? Why aren't they singing? I didn't understand. And I also remember like this one boy in particular, his name was Rusty Jordan. And we grew up together from like kindergarten till we graduated. But Rusty Jordan, I can remember looking over at Rusty Jordan, and he was singing the loudest out of all of the kids, and he was smiling the biggest. And I'll never forget that. But yeah, there's something about singing. It just brings up, a happiness and a joy, music and singing along. So I thought, what better way to have a 30-day spiritual practice? And what is essentially a spiritual practice? For those of you that don't have one, for those of you that maybe are that person that commented, how do I start a spiritual practice? My first bit of advice would be, find a church and go to church. That's like the most obvious thing, but I know not everybody wants to go to church, and I totally get that. But honestly, guys, if you can find a good church that you really enjoy, that is a great way to build your spiritual practice. It's a great way to do a lot of things, really. Essentially, like, if you can find a church that you enjoy, you found a family for life. You have found a family for life. The people throughout my, spiritual journey that I have met, I've gone to a few different churches, but I went to one church for 10 years, and those people, like the women, in particular, like from the Bible studies I went to and different women's ministry groups, those women are my sisters, and they will be my sisters for life. I don't care, like, if I never see them or talk to them again on this side of heaven. They are my sisters. They are my sisters. Like, I share a bond with them that is so intimate. I can't even, like, It is so intimate. It is so intimate because those women, we spent time in prayer together. We spent time on our knees together before God. That is a very like bonding, intimate thing to do with another person. It's just like you are making yourself so vulnerable, and you're talking to God, so you are being honest. You know, it's like those women are my sisters for life. So you're building, you know, when you're in a church, you're in a family. You're in a family. If you can find a good one. There's a lot of good ones out there. There really are. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. Okay. So I was talking to the people who said, you know, how do you build a spiritual practice, and what is a spiritual practice? So basically, when you think of a spiritual practice, you're thinking of, you're connecting with a power outside of your source. You're outside of yourself. You're connecting with a higher power, you know, and everybody's going to have a different belief on this. And I get that. You know, you're going to have different religions. You're going to have different, just beliefs in general. Like I know some people don't even necessarily believe in God. You know, they refer to like the universe or the law of attraction, just an outside power. And so a spiritual practice is when you're connecting yourself to that outside power. You're saying that everything here isn't all that's here. You're saying that there's more to just this. You look around and you look at the trees and you look at the grass and you look at the flowers and the mountains and the ocean and you go, yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. Like there's more to this life than just this, you know, this minimal, you know, what I can grasp. There's more to it. There's power out there that created all of this. I know that some people believe that all of this is here for coincidence and it all just came out of nothing for no reason. But, you know, if you want to have a spiritual walk, you've got to understand that there's really a lot more going on than meets the eye. There's power beyond what we understand. And so having a spiritual walk is connecting with that power. And for me, that power is God. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the Bible. So that, for me, that's where the power is. And the closer the more I walk with God, and the closer I walk to God, and the more I'm in the scripture, and the more I'm in fellowship, the stronger my faith becomes, and the more I feel filled with that power, the more I feel connected to that power. And it's really an incredible thing. And I would really highly encourage people to have and develop a spiritual walk. And so this 30-day worship challenge, to me, is just a way, it's kind of a simple way to start. Or if you already have a spiritual walk, it's a great way to commit to something, you know, every single day. So here's how it's going to work. So 30-day worship challenge. Gosh, guys, 23 minutes. Here's how it's going to work. So here on my YouTube channel, I have playlists, and one of my playlists is listed worship or worship songs. I think it's listed, it's called worship, I think. So I've put in there 31 of my favorite worship songs. I've gone in and I've selected some beautiful songs. I've taken some time and carefully selected these songs, guys. So how it works is, let's say you start your worship challenge today. So you go onto my channel, you click playlist. Today is the first, so you click the first song, song number 1. You play it. These are just songs on YouTube, and you sing along to it. Most of the songs that I've selected have the lyrics right on there. So we're going to have one giant sing along. So we can just like send out these great sing along vibes to each other and share in that wonderfulness. That was really corny. But so yeah, so, okay, Mom, I'm talking to you. So here's what you do. So if you're on my Facebook, if you're watching this video from Facebook, you look down and you'll see a little YouTube there. Click on the YouTube. That'll take you directly to my YouTube channel. And then when you're on my YouTube channel, you click on Wonder Vegan, my title name. There's a little mask there. Just find that Wonder Vegan. Click on that. That brings up my menu. And then you'll see underneath that, it'll say playlist. So click on playlist, and that'll bring up those 31. That'll bring up, it'll bring up my playlists. You'll see worship. You click on worship, and that'll bring up my 31 songs. So click on YouTube, click on Wonder Vegan, click on playlists, and click on worship. I know that's a lot of clicks, Mom, but you can do it. I love you, Mom. Okay, so 30-day worship challenge. As for the rest of the month, guys, I'm going to kind of take off. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll pop on here and add some videos. I did a lot last month for the 30-day fitness challenge. Right now, I am at the halfway mark in my year-long program at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And we're doing a lot of actual training, like the coaching training, and we're working on our website. So I'm actually really busy with that. So I don't know that I'm going to be making a lot of videos for this channel this month. So that's probably going to be it. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to be getting on my playlist every morning, and I'm going to be singing these songs. I've actually been singing these songs. I started this challenge about 3 months ago, and I try to get on every single morning. So if I go on, and today's the 28th, I hit song number 28, and that's the song I sing. I try to do it every single day, and it just starts out your day. Try to do it in the morning. It just starts out your day. It puts a smile on your face. You know, it puts a peace in your heart. It gives you a little bit of peace, a little bit of joy, and it just starts out your day in a great way. You know, it sets you on your path with that joy and that peace that we all want in life, don't we? Don't we just want to go about our day just feeling relaxed and happy? Go about our life feeling relaxed and happy? I mean, really, honestly, if it weren't for that, I don't even know, like, there's so much craziness going on in the world. I don't like it either, guys. There's just a lot of yucky stuff going on in the world, and it's really hard to deal with, isn't it? We can get very overwhelmed, we can get very frustrated, we can get very angry. But when we have that peace of God in our hearts, we can chill. We can just chill. I mean, we should still be active, we should still be vocal, we should still be passionate, we should still fight for what we know is right. Don't get me wrong. But to be able to do it with a peace in our hearts and a smile on our face, and just without the fear, and just having that belief that there's a God and He loves us and He's our Father and He's got it all under control. You know, we're screwing it all up, but you know, it's all good. So, all right, go in peace. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this month's challenge. All right, thanks for watching.